Thanks for listening to our daily Bible study. Lesson today is all we need is love. All we need is love. I remember whenever I was younger, there was a group that had a song that was one of the main phrases within it. All we need is love. And of course, everybody went around parroting that. All we need is love. All we need is love. But you looked at the world and you found out, wait a minute, you don't have it. What are you singing about? Love is so strange in the world in which we live. It's a so-called love. It's not what God speaks of. You look and you find in our reading yesterday, as John wrote, you find that he's called the apostle of love by many because of the preeminence he gives to that subject. But you look in chapter 4 and verse 20. He says, Now if a man say, I love God and hateth his brother, he's a liar. He that loveth not his brother whom he has seen, how can he love God whom he hath not seen? This is a commandment we have from him, that he who loveth God, love his brother also. You could add to that over as Jesus was asked, what's the first and great commandment? He told him that the first commandment was love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. The second is like unto it. You love your neighbor as yourself. You see, love is something that motivates every area in which we live. You look at the horrors in the world in which we live. Well, how can you have rioting? How can you have theft? How can you have murderers? How can you have all of these things that we do to one another if we have love? The very heart of the definition of love is to seek the best for another. Look at 1 Corinthians, the 13th chapter. Read those things there in verse 4 through 8 of the description of love, and you'll be amazed at how the world we have today, the horrors that are there, they can't exist if we have love as God sets it forth. And then we look at the religious world around about us. Sadly, the world is so divided in religious devotion, and it's not because God hasn't spoken. God has given his word, Jude, the 3rd chapter, the 3rd verse, we're to earnestly contend for the faith that was once delivered to saints. In other words, there's a singular body of truth. And if we have a love for God, then we will realize that we will keep his commandments, John 14 and verse 15. Won't be a competition between traditions of men and the commandments of God. And what about the homes? The destruction of the home is just decaying away. Well, if we have the love that God speaks of, Ephesians the 5th chapter, the husbands who love their wives, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. Titus the 2nd chapter and verse 4, older women teach the younger women to love their husbands. I mean, if you have that in the homes, you're going to have a common respect for one another, a love, a desire to do the best. You're going to follow God's plan given in Ephesians the 5th chapter. Love is something that just overcomes so much, takes away the problems, replaces it with God's will. But how do we get that? How is it that we have the love that God speaks of that is so central to life as he would have us to have? You go back to the reading we had in 1 John the 4th chapter again, but drop up to verse 19. He says, we love him because he first loved us. Now, other translations have that, and I think more correctly so. We love because he first loved us. In other words, we see God, what he has done for us, what he continues to do, what he provides, what he puts before us. And we see the love that he has. Well, the question is, how much do I love in return? When I love God, I will love self and others. Remember the first commandment? Love God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. The second is like unto it. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Whenever I have that, then I will have the love that God desires. All we need is love. How do I get it? Learn more about God and his love. And you either reject him and his love, or you realize what he has done, and you take that and make it a part of your life. What a wonderful world it would be. All we need is love. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Thank you again for joining us in this Bible study. We remind you, if you'd like to follow along in our daily Bible reading, the link below in the description of this video will give you the PDF so you can read right along with us. If you have any other questions or if you'd like information on a Bible study, contact us with the information provided on the screen before you.